Right. And so I'm going to turn it over to you. Please tell me what health disparity you focused on and what is your action plan, your next steps. And please introduce yourself.
So my name is Kristen Gates. I'm a third-year family medicine resident from Connecticut. And going over what our group talked about, so we stayed kind of general, both in our topic of disparity. We use broadly cancer as a conceptual model, and then where we kind of wanted to leave this conference with was 3 key points in regards to our intervention. The intervention was looking at how to empower moving forward on 3 levels: the patient level, the physician level, and the systems level. Our interventions are the things that we were able to think of together, starting first at the physician level, kind of going a lot from the presentation we just heard about having advocates for patients, whether they be nurse managers. In my experience, you've also had nurses actually take over this role of communication of chronic diseases, be it asthma, diabetes, hypertension, but with this specific and implicit purpose of empowering that patient to not need the system, but to give them a knowledge base to be their own advocate moving forward. The next level of empowerment that we were discussing was talking about at the level of the physician. I was throwing in my experience that a great primary care physician does not have all of the answers. They know how to find the answer. And to start to look at having multidisciplinary conversations much like this, but on a much more formalized structure. And where we saw the opportunity looming for us is that in the Affordable Care Act, there is now mandates for you to meet certain criteria and kind of have an expectation of a result, as opposed to just being able to document that you're doing the standard of care. You're now being held accountable to the result. But if you do not give greater access, empowerment to the physician to make those changes, essentially you're just demanding the same number of bricks without straw. So the question is, how do we get the straw, right, to kind of make that change? And that we talked about making opportunities between multidisciplinary, whether it be social work, whether it be lawyers who are interested in doing pro bono work, being able to be advocates, having those systems in place, which is something that is complicated to probably do in reality, but I don't think that we'll arrive at our endpoint without it. And then the last thing we talked about was empowerment on a systems level, particularly on the community level, and the community having a voice in regards to the care that it receives from the hospital. We talked a lot about that in regards to the tax-exempt status, which is already something being worked into the Affordable Care Act in regards to holding hospitals accountable for being considered non-for-profit. But the other thing we talked about was having the community being able to articulate to a hospital the types of care that they would be responsible for. For example, George Washington, where I graduated from, is a for-profit hospital. They will tell you that to your face. So taking away tax-exempt status doesn't necessarily matter to them. But do they have less of an obligation to the community? They don't. And kind of empowering the community, be it either local taxes, in order to kind of have a standard for which they must meet, and holding them accountable in that way, and having that resource be available. So again, we just looked at empowerment on 3 levels: the physician level, or the patient level, the physician level, as well as the community, in order to try and address these changes to arrive at real substantive change.
Okay, thank you. And so we have empowerment, right? And that's what this conference was about. Empowerment in the sense that we understand that there are issues. We understand that they are complex. We understand that we are all part of the problem and the solution, right? And so how can we move forward to change the system that we have? And so what I hear is a broader perspective of empowerment, some action steps that I hear, and we collected all the sheets, is to begin to bring together people, right, to address our powerlessness, but our power at the same time. And so that if we want physicians to change, to focus on patients, then we need to hear what keeps them from focusing on patients. Is it a lack of time? Is it a not understanding the communication between patients or the views of patients about their interactions? It's bringing together patients to discuss how they feel when they're involved with physicians, to be able to voice that, not just to the ombudsman, but to the providers, so that we can begin the dialogue to say that we can work together to do this change. And so at the very least, I know there are lots of different people from lots of different cities within Ohio and outside of Ohio. But at the very least, to me, the next action step is to bring together people who are affected by the healthcare system, who we have not talked to before. Put them together and see how they can work together to address the problem. So bringing together providers, patients, people in hospitals, whether it be the legal department, the CEO, lawyers, and not just lawyers who do civil rights, but lawyers who do civil rights and also public health. That we need sociologists, we need public health people, we need psychologists, we need business people. To be able to, in legislatures and government people, to be able to sit down and talk about all of the things that keep us from making this healthcare system better, so that we can come up with solutions that we can work together on, okay? And so I would say that that is the next action step. I'm going to wrap up the program, just briefly summarizing what I hope that this program has accomplished, and charge you, along with the people who have left, with a task. And so this program was, from my view, of how the healthcare system fails to provide the best care but spends a whole lot of money. I focused in on one group because I know about that group, and I have experienced lots of the things discussed here. Does that mean that we shouldn't broaden the dialogue? No. But it's just a step in the direction to say that our healthcare system is broken. And it's not just broken because we need to educate people about how to be healthy. It's broken because we have the wrong focus. We're spending money on the wrong things. And that we're actually failing to do what we claim we're doing, which is treating people, making people healthier, treating people equally. And that's what Title VI said when it was passed 50 years ago. However, we're not doing it. Even though we've removed the white, black signs in some places, they've gone back up, unfortunately, in others. But that we are still not treating people equally regardless of who they are. And that cannot continue. So we need to stop letting it continue, right? So that if we are treated inappropriately or unequal, that we don't continue to go to those people. And I'm talking about the people in this room, right? We have lots of stories. Don't keep going back, because we have the power to walk away. But we also have the power to educate either the people who are doing it or the people who are experiencing it. And so to me, our task is to go forward and say, how can I make a difference? You can make a difference just by going, perhaps you're a physician, and going back and saying, you know what? We all as people have biases, and it affects how we treat people. Let's see if we can do a better job. Maybe we can talk to our patients for 2 extra minutes before we begin to ask them what's wrong, and understand who they are as people. That may be a minor change, but that would be a change for the good because, again, we are treating people as people, okay, and not just groups or not just dollar signs, okay? That we go and inform patients to say it is your right to be treated equally. Now, how you address that is a different way, right? You could walk, you could tell an ombudsman, but that you should be heard. And so hopefully with this symposium, we've talked a lot about a lot of different issues. That you go away with is that we have a duty to fix it. And so my charge to you is, what are you going to do? If we don't want to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, if we don't want to be a country where we spend the most and get the least, then how are we going to change it? So I want to thank all of you for coming, all the presenters, everybody who assisted, and the media here. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the planners, the food, everybody. And I look forward to working with you in the future. As I said, I will be in contact with what you've done, with the slides, but that we continue this discussion and to move forward for real change. And that is my hope. So thank you.